Thank you to everybody that's joining the webinar this morning. It's pretty hard at 9 a.m. in Saskatchewan after a rider win to pull everybody, together. So I appreciate all of you joining us this morning. This is a great opportunity for the Roughrider Foundation to just reach out to some of the key people in the province that are running businesses and some of our current donors as well. So thank you for being here this morning again. And we have a brief presentation. And part of it is I get to start it off, but we will have a player, Brett Lawther. I think he's trying to figure out his camera on the screen, but Brett is on, camera and voice, so Brett is on, and had a great game last night. Oh, there he is. By the way, Brett had a great game last night. Now, Brett is driving to the stadium, so let me tell you, this guy is a jack of all trades, and when he's asked to do something in the community, he never says no. So thanks, Brett. You'll hear from Brent Smith and Dave Pettigrew a little bit about their experience with structured flow-through, and of course Peter Nicholson, president of WCPD Wealth, and he'll share a little bit more, obviously, about how it's working in Saskatchewan. But to start it off, I'll just share a little bit about our pillars. The Saskatchewan Roughrider Foundation is just about 6 years old, and it's the charitable arm of the football club. So we actually are an official charity, and we have 3 pillars. One is amateur football, and our fantastic 50-50. Those of you that were watching the game last night or at the game was over 200,000. All of that money goes to support amateur football in the province. We also have 2 other pillars, which we are really proud of. And one is that we work in the space of mental health. And so our players go into the schools and do mental health presentations to kids grade 4 to 9. And then our literacy pillar, education pillar. And players like Brett also go into schools and deliver reading and the importance of reading to grades K to 4. So those 3 pillars keep us hopping and keep us very, very busy. But I'll also share with you that this year our reach was incredible. And I don't even think the donors that are on our call know this yet because our annual meeting is on Monday. But our players, including Brett and 8 others, reached 141 schools this year across this whole province, and 34,000 kids were reached, which is incredible. The map of the province, they were all over from Stony Rapids in the north, all the way to the southern border, and reaching kids all over this province. And I'll ask Brett a few questions, if you're ready, Brett, to answer some questions, just about your experience and what that looks like in a school for you, just to share a little bit with the folks online about what the Roughrider Foundation does.
Before you start, Cindy,
yeah.
I got a 2-for-1 going on.
Oh, hi. Oh, get out. Hi, Mitch. So we've got Mitch and Brett.
Ambassador.
Okay, that's even better. So Mitch picked in also another ambassador. So Brett and Mitch have been Roughrider ambassadors for quite some time. And they stay in the province's great province in the off season and spend a lot of time on the road. And so I'll actually ask both of you some questions, if that's okay, Mitch. Nothing to put you on the spot, but hey, pressure, you guys are used to pressure. So so I'll ask you a little bit about, you go into the schools all over the province. What's the most fun you've had in a school this past year or before? Brett, go ahead. Most fun.
The fun for me, obviously, the easy answer is just seeing the kids, like when it starts to click with like whether it's reading or talking about the mental wellness. But I always have the most fun just playing, with the little ones, whether it's heads up, 7-up, or whatever classroom games they have. And sometimes with the older ones, there's a lot of football outside in the winter or ball hockey or whatever it might be. So I always have a ton of fun doing that.
Perfect. And Mitch, what was the most fun you've had?
Yeah, similar to Brett. It's always fun, seeing the kids actually start to understand the message that we're trying to get across. But then once you kind of get through the serious stuff and what we're there to get across to them, you always start to have a little bit more fun and playing games. If you go to the gym and you're hanging out with the kids and stuff like that, they always get so excited. And I remember when we were in Bethune, actually, Cindy, we ended up outside. It was like pretty much the whole school ended up in like a touch football game outside playing together. So that one kind of got a little bit crazy. But that was a lot of fun. That one sticks out in my mind.
I remember that one distinctly, Mitch, because you had to make sure that every single kid in the whole school caught a ball from you, and you're not even
Yeah,
a quarterback.
Yeah, I had to ice my shoulder when I got home.
Oh yeah, of course you did. Yeah. So then the next question is a memorable experience for both of you so far, where you really felt that you were making impact. Not just you're delivering a message, but where you were making impact, whether it was in the Rider Reading program or the Win with Wellness program.
A good one for me this year, just because I think other years I've kind of told the story at a couple dinners or other places of getting out to Paradise Hill in good soil, and they always said, they hadn't had someone there since Jeremy O'Day, and I turned it into the joke that I made a few different times where, we got to get someone better out there because their favorite player went from an O-line to a kicker. So getting back there this year was pretty awesome because all the kids were so fired up to be back. They remembered who you were. I had kids that were, in like grade 2 or 3 in the time, now in the older program, teachers that had come back, and it was just a lot of good memories and stories, and everyone remembered everything from the first presentations, and they're almost like experts on the field for just getting out there once. And they told me that they actually started because of that day that we were there, like a whole mental health sector for like the high school and older kids. So that was pretty cool to hear.
Thanks, Brett. Mitch?
Yeah, one that sticks out to me is Cindy, you were actually there when we were in Davidson. I think that was 2 off seasons ago now. And that was shortly after they had that house fire. And there was a couple children that were lost in that house fire. And I mean, that was the classmates and friends of people in the school, right? So the students were kind of struggling, and teachers had mentioned that. And just getting out there and spending some time with those kids and talking to them about mental health, that was one where it definitely felt like we made an impact. And, the message that we were trying to get across was really helping kids.
Perfect. Yeah, I remember that distinctly, Mitch. Thank you for that. Tell them a little bit about what you do in the school with reading and mental wellness. You don't have to go through the whole presentation, of course, but just a little tidbit. And the presentations that the players deliver are ministry approved and curriculum aligned. So we were talking to some teachers last night, and they said it's so good because they don't have to think about it. It's one of the things that they're allowed and they're encouraged to use in their schools. So, and the other thing is that it's free due to the great donors that we have. So Brett, and I'll start with you. What do you do?
Yeah, so usually get into the school. I always right away try to find a few things in the school that I can try to pick up on just walking through, whether it's the team's like kind of mascot there or slogan or something like that, and incorporate it right away with the kids. Try to just familiarize yourself with the surroundings, and then a lot of it, especially with the younger ones, just getting down to their level, making sure you're taking a knee with them, sitting down, whether it's coloring or whatever you're doing afterwards. But a lot of it early on is just staying on the curriculum and the path of what we actually are there to do. And then throughout that, you kind of transition afterwards. A lot of the kids, you do a lot of good work, but most of schools, and especially younger ones, the kids are there for the cards and autographs and things after. And they can get pretty rowdy and fired up. And I always say, we do however many schools a year, but I don't know how teachers do that 24/7. I can't believe I wanted to be a teacher at one point in my life when I was younger, but it wipes you out, but it's so rewarding. I wouldn't have it any other way. And honestly, the off seasons out here, not to insult Sask, they're tougher than what I was used to. And that's something I always look forward to help me get through the winters, because not only do we get a lot of thank yous for doing what we do, but I always thank the kids and the teachers because they brighten my day and make me feel a lot better about myself, and it helps me practice a lot of things that I actually use in football and in the season. So it's really a good reminder, but that's kind of a quick version of kind of what happens for me throughout the day.
Can you give them you just share your box breathing? Because I can tell you that all the other players that present use Brett Lawther's box breathing trick. And I don't think you have it patented, but maybe you should have, but tell them a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's how I start basically whether it's in the middle or the start. I think one of the nice things about the presentations is they're all basically the same, but they can all go different directions that are kind of dictated by the kids. And one thing I always talk about with the kids is box breathing and the importance of it. So we'll usually have a slide that's on the brain, and it kind of tells you how you're tapping into the brain stem, and in any situation, no matter how major or minor or where you're at, you actually have so much control over yourself than you really realize with something as simple as your breathing. All it is, I usually show the kids just a 4-second inhale, 4-second hold, 4-second exhale, 4-second hold. That's why it gets its name box breathing. They say if you do that, 5 or 6 times through, no matter what's going on, it can really help you. And then to relate it to the kids, it's not something that I just tell them and leave it, before each and every field goal. When I go on the field, it's something I do. I'm having trouble sleeping at night. Any big kind of situation, it's something I do. It's really helped me. It wasn't something I really grew up with, or when it was being kind of shown to me, I didn't think it would really work for me, but I was trying to keep an open mind, practice it. And I use it each and every day in my life now. And it's been really rewarding too, because over the years before each and every game, I always go to the north end zone and say what's up or thank you to the fans for coming. And I've had a number of different cases now where, a kid will be like, hey, do you remember being at my school in Moose Jaw? I'm using box breathing before my AAA hockey games or my music recital or my math test or whatever it might be. So it's kind of cool to see that kids are actually using it in the province and listening to some of the stuff we're trying to pass on.
Perfect. Mitch, what do you do? Can you tell us a little about the reading, maybe?
Yeah, so the reading's always it's always fun. It's always interesting. Especially kindergarten, even we do pre-K as well sometimes. Those kids don't always want to sit still for an extended period of time. So that one always turns into a little bit more playing around and stuff like that. But I always start with just stressing the importance of reading. And it doesn't matter what we're doing in life. We're always going to have to be good readers. And, literacy is something that is very, very important. So you kind of stress that and then read a story or two. And then it kind of turns into fun and autographs and playing games and stuff like that. But just being accessible to these kids, being approachable is something that I always try to make sure that I do when I'm in classrooms. I've had teachers ask me, do you want the kids to call you Mr. Picton or what do you? I'm like, no, that's my grandpa. I am Mitch to these kids. I want to get on their level. I want them to be comfortable, ask me questions and that sort of thing. So that's kind of how I go through the reading.
Perfect. Good. Thank you so much, you guys. Just to wrap up this session, we had 9 players throughout the province delivering presentations. Brett and Mitch and Jorgen Hoos would be our longest serving ones. They have been here for a long time, and so we can really trust them. They have to go through quite a rigorous training before we check on them. Every once in a while, we pop into their presentation and check on them, see how they're doing, and make sure they're aligning with curriculum. But donors that support us, and you're going to hear from a couple shortly, many of them have used the flow through, and the 2 that have used the flow through, and Peter as well, has supported these programs. And honestly, we wouldn't be able to have the reach that we had without it. The flow through opportunity in Saskatchewan, which you'll hear a little bit more about it, has been game changing for the Roughrider Foundation. We would have never been able to reach those numbers without the support of our donors. So just want to say thank you to both Dave, Brent, and Peter, who are on this call, and then of course there's many others. But I'll thank you, Brett and Mitch. I know you're probably at the stadium now, ready to go in and rehash the game and maybe get a little bit of a treatment. But thank you for joining us, and you can jump off and go grab your caffeine. But I appreciate you joining us today. Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for having us. See you guys.
You bet. Have a great weekend. Perfect. So I'm going to turn the floor over to Dave. Dave Pettigrew, he is, not some of you obviously were probably invited by him as well, a great supporter, current president of the Saskatchewan Roughrider Football Club, and a great friend of the mental health and the literacy program. So I'll just turn it over to Dave to just tell us a little bit about your experience with the Roughrider Foundation and obviously with Flow Through Funds and WCPD.
Okay, thanks, Cindy. Cindy asked me to do this, which, like anything Cindy asks, the answer is yes, and because she can be very persuasive. And I guess there's 3 questions, Cindy, that you asked me to just talk to briefly. So first one was why did my wife Joanne and I support the foundation? You just heard some pretty good testimonials of the players and their experiences and how the impact in the schools is so profound, and I really love that. I love the impact that they're making across the province with kids. I really like the foundation support of amateur football. It's very impressive and very significant. And frankly, I also like the fact that the foundation is able to help players stay in the community year round and give them a little bit of an employment opportunity to do the work of it. So that's also a real benefit to me. The second question that Cindy asked me to talk to was just my first impressions of this structured flow through strategy. And it's actually a colleague of mine, Mo Bundon. I think that Peter got to one of the first folks that he talked to when he started roaming around the province. I think that was about 3 years ago, Peter, I think. But, and all of our reaction was, what? This is just too good to be true. Like there's got to be a catch here. Like, what's the catch? Who is this guy? What's the strategy? And so that was the very first reaction. But then a lot of folks that are far smarter than I am started to crawl through the detail, and no, it's all legit. And took it to my accountant. She said, no, this is legit. And then Cindy also helped by embracing Peter and his team. I know we had some time together in Halifax a couple of years ago, and it really helped, I guess, bring it further up on my radar. And to be honest, at that point, once I knew about it, I thought it's irresponsible to not participate. I just felt like it was just an obligation, really. At that point, I have to do this. So, my experience overall has been very positive. Well, with Peter and his team for sure. CRA not so much, but the one thing I was confused. I thought I could just sort of call and say, let's do this. And I guess maybe I'm learning that you wait for a deal to happen. So there's an opportunity, there's a window where there's a transaction that you can participate in, which initially I didn't understand that, but I understand that now. And then it's honestly extremely easy. Like it's all very straightforward. You decide what sort of strategy you want to use, and then they do the math for you, and then you just got to cut a check, a pretty large check. It's a cash flow impact for sure. But and I've received the dollars back from CRA, so I can certainly attest to the fact that it works. The only frustration is, I think, because this strategy changed my tax situation fairly significantly, I got put in a special pile. So they took their time to get around to my return, but it was all good. And the other thing is, that Peter and his team hold the money, and then when you want to make a disbursement, it's just simple. Like yesterday, let's send some money to the Red Cross. It was just an email, and boom, it's being dispensed. So yeah, overall, I would strongly endorse this strategy and Peter and his team. And I'm not being paid, at least not yet. Not yet, anyways. Just kidding. No, it's a very
all
very
volunteer.
Good thing. Yeah. So I don't know. It would be. I don't know if I did okay there, Cindy. That was sort of my sort of overall comments.
Yeah, it's just really good to hear from people that have experienced it, because of course, and you're going to hear a minute from Brent Smith too, same thing, a little bit skeptical, not sure, because of course we're Saskatchewan people, we're very cautious. in what we do and passionate. But thank you for sharing your experience for sure. Over to Brent. Brent, you had a similar experience, but maybe a little bit different, and you've been able to, I understand, be able to support not only the Rider Foundation but other charities that are also really important to you, as Dave has as well. But maybe go through those 3 questions for your experience.
Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, I guess one of the things about the, we really like the Rider Foundation as one of the charities we like to support. We really like the player appearances. It's a big thing for kids and communities to get them out there and connect with the football club. So, and they listen. The mental health and also the reading program is really important to them. To us, I guess. The other part is amateur football. We love that it's supported. I have 2 boys that played football, and I think it's molded, who they are in some ways as being part of a team. So that was really important to us, when we started to, consider where we're putting our donation money to. So that's why we followed the Rider Foundation. The impression of the structured flow through, it was like, oh, wow, this is way too good to be true. Is it legal? And even people that I've shared it with, it's like, are you crazy? No, this can't be right. So, there's a lot of that went through. And then, we took it to our accountant, and, we did WCPD and Peter's team did a presentation, and we get off the presentation, it's like, oh, this can't be right. Our accountants were so skeptical. Give us a couple of weeks. It took a couple of weeks, went through it. It's like, geez, I don't know. It's up to you, but you're taking a big risk here. So we took the risk. And last year when we did our submission, our tax filing, they came back and said everything they said was exactly what they told us it was going to be. So it was like, wow. Now, like Dave, our only drawback is CRA puts you in a special pile because they don't like to give you that money back. So, you wait for your money to come back. But it's such an attractive piece for us to be able to donate to charities instead of sending it to Ottawa. Sorry, Peter. We'll send it to you instead.
Yeah.
And keep it local. This is a transfer payment coming back from the east to the west for a change. So, yeah, that's pretty much my experience with it. I hope that's what you're looking for from me, but happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Thank you, Brent. Appreciate that. Peter, I'm going to turn the floor right over to you. This is the interesting part for sure. And you can certainly bring in Brent and Dave at any time, or myself if you like.
Fine. That's great. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, Brent, Dave. And we always like to talk about the charity. That's the emotional side. And now I'm going to talk to you about the math and the tax side. And it's not unusual. This structure has been around for 19 years. And it's been tested for 8,000 personal and corporate tax returns. Unfortunately, Saskatchewan just is only in its 3rd year. So the Saskatchewan drilling prior to that was being sold in downtown Toronto by myself and the 3 competitors. I'm based in Ottawa. I like to always say too, you now have a friend in Ottawa. If you're in the tax reduction business, Ottawa is a good place to be. I'm a true Rider fan. I was hoping that the Red Blacks would be able to fall apart, and not win the game last night. And sure enough, Ottawa did. They're good at messing up on government, and they're also good at messing up on sports. So good win by the Riders. This is not a loophole. This is not something the government doesn't want people to do. Structured flow-throughs are 3 years older than RSPs, 1954. The government wants you to do RSPs. They want you to do tax-free savings accounts, and they want you to do flow-through shares, which are resource exploration. And Saskatchewan means a lot of uranium, which you're one of the best in the world at. And the world needs more uranium. They need more of these critical minerals you've been told about. And this fits their pattern perfectly. This fits the policy of the government. And they want more donations. Donations have been sliding actually since 2006, mainly because the middle class and the lower income class are still struggling to get ahead. And their donations have come down, and there's such a big amount of them. The large donations, and those would be kind of the donors a lot that we're dealing with, this structure works great. Definitely, if you're making over 225,000 of income, it will fit you well. It can still work for you at 150,000 of income, but of course, if you're in the lower tax brackets of 50,000, it won't work for you for this year. Let's just get right into the PowerPoint, and I can go through a little bit more of the example. I've been in business since 1987, and started in the investment insurance business. 95 got involved with tax. 2006, this opportunity happened when Stephen Harper finished the job that Paul Martin started that said no capital gains if you donate public shares. Flow through shares are all capital gain. They're all public. More than 99% of them are public, so it fit perfectly. Then in 2011, the government actually did taxes. They thought, well, this is too generous. They were well aware of it. So as good as it is today, and it's still outstanding, it was actually better from '06 to 2011. 2012, Manitoba came up and offered a provincial credit. And that's important because once you offer provincial credit, we want to then put all the Manitoba drilling with Manitoba taxpayers. British Columbia has a 20% provincial credit. Quebec had a provincial credit. So those are provinces that you need to put the drilling exploration with the taxpayer that files that provincial return, or else we waste the provincial credit. And I grew up in Nova Scotia, and just like in Saskatchewan, you don't want to waste anything. You want to take advantage of this and save the most amount of tax you can, and hopefully you're in a position to be very generous with the Riders Foundation and other great foundations in Saskatchewan. So Saskatchewan came forward in 2023 with Jim Reeder and offered a 30% credit. So I've been in Saskatchewan now 20 times. I'm going back next on the 15th, 16th of in Regina. So if people find this interesting, we can meet face to face. My goal in this presentation is to get you excited to be introduced to your accountant. The faster we get to your accountant, the better. Okay, and that's kind of the history. That's why all of us, no one's really heard about it in Saskatchewan until recently. But I'm proud to say we're now up to 90 new clients. You know, Brent and Dave being, two of the 90. We did 7.6 million in 2023 specifically in Saskatchewan. There was other drilling programs that we had to still sell in Ontario, but we're growing. My goal is to grow the Saskatchewan business to over 100 million, because there's that much drilling to happen. And in 2024 we did 11.3 million. We're well on our way to do far superior, and you do hit the tipping point. So anyone making over 225, we want to take a look at. This is our advisory board. Those that are interested, this PowerPoint's available to you. The advisory board is even longer than that, but it's important to have like a chairman of Deloitte back in 2006, David Lately. That's my dad, I'm proud to say. So that's what I'm going to look like at age 83. He's very well known in political circles. We've got Cindy, of course, and Ziva Abad. You might know her up in Saskatoon. But when we first started, you really needed to add that credibility. And thank you for Brent and Dave, and also our friends at MNP in Saskatchewan, Virtus. Has also gone through it. So if you use Virtus as an accounting firm, they know all about it. MLT Aikens, and of course the big four, we deal all across Canada. That's KPMG, Deloitte, Ernst & Young, PwC, and then Buchberger Berg and Saskatoon's gone through it. So we're making great headways, and we're about to hit that tipping point in Saskatchewan. So better for Saskatchewan taxpayers, better for Saskatchewan charities. Next slide, please. There's a testimony from Cindy, how great it's been for her. I'm also proud to say that I've given $40,000 in growing to the Riders Foundation. It's touched me, and we've been good partners for that. I'm happy to continue to give to our Saskatchewan charities and buy tables and sponsorships. Next slide, please. Some more with Brent and Dave. I think they've already verbally said what's been written. Next slide. Saputo's. I mean, you don't have to be a billionaire to use that product, but we do have lots of billionaires. In essence, you can pay as long as you're, if you're paying tax, roughly 20% of your tax bill, you now can pay to charities of your choice at a 1 penny cost, not a 50-cent cost, which is the usual cost. And how we do that is by putting two policies together. But there's some kind words from Patricia Saputo. They're in the cheese business out of Montreal. McGill. So this is very well known across Canada, but we have to tell the story, which is new in Saskatchewan. Next slide. Already some Saskatchewan, just a fraction, but you'll see some universities. Of course, there's the Riders Foundation. I'm flying in on the 15th to finish the globe. We've got about 3 million more left to go. There was some cost overruns. Of course, the Hospitals of Regina, Food Bank, Jimmy Pattison, and there's a handful more. Next slide. So we want to grow those Saskatchewan. Here's some stats on our firm. $55 million donated, received from the WCPD Foundation. That's the public foundation. And what Dave also said and Brent touched on is their money sits in their donor advised foundation after they do the structure. And then we do check runs every day. So when even $100. So if someone asks you to run for this, walk for that, or even a bigger donation, 5,000, 10,000, that money is in your charitable checking account at Scotiabank, ready to be dispersed just through an email. You can grow that money. You don't have to give it away in days or weeks. You could take years, but most of our clients, you can see 55 million receipted, 45 million went out the door, which is what charities want. It's not sitting there in the foundation not doing good. We've done 350 million since this structure started in 2006 to charities. And that far right-hand corner on the right, 8,000 personal corporate tax returns, no issues with CRA, 9 advanced tax rulings, and we've also done $1.4 billion of drilling to help the economy, and that's also going to help Saskatchewan. The CRA, I'll just let you know just for that, they always give the refund, but they never give it before June 15th. And that's because they don't owe you any interest. So when you file in April, they definitely will always hold your money until June 15th. Then they do have to pay you a very generous interest rate, but still probably not as much as you'd want, maybe 3%, 4%. But they do always give the refund. It's unfortunate, but CRA is just slow. They may also ask you to send in your T-slips. They've already got those slips, but it's kind of a make-work project for them right now. They hired tens of thousands of new people, not the managers. I know that from my Ottawa contacts. So whatever we can do to keep the money in your hands, to give to charity, to keep it in Saskatchewan, let's do that. I see tax money squandered every day living here in Ottawa. All I did is take 2 separate tax policies and marry them together. The government wants more flow through shares, which is drilling exploration, which is jobs. That is it for them. Now, we all know that exploration is high risk, high reward. 1 out of 10 on the drill bit gets something exciting, but 10 times out of 10, they get the jobs. And for those that don't know what a flow through share is, like I stated, it's older than an RSP. It allows small companies. These are not, these are not the Camecos. These are not the companies that are having to pay tax. These are the smaller companies, but they can still be next gen level and Denison level because they're still not paying tax, but they've got a very high market cap. But at the energy would be another example of what we did. So they're not, they don't have revenue yet. They're out exploring for uranium. Could also be for copper as well. And we've got helium. These are all critical minerals in Saskatchewan. So they might spend, let's say, $10 million on a drill exploration. They're allowed, because they don't have any revenue, to write that business expense off of 10 million drilling on their drill bit. They're allowed to flow through, and thus the word flow through, those $10 million of tax deductions to individuals that subscribe as well as your corporations. So people on the line here, if you have a holding company that's paying tax, we should talk about that as well as your personal income. So that's what a flow through share is all about. And they become common shares 4 months later after a hold period, and they're almost 99% of the time all public companies. What's special about our deal is we have a liquidity provider. These are very risky shares. That's why the government gives you 100% write-off. But the liquidity provider is, for example, the Royal Bank Resource Mutual Fund, AGF Resource Mutual Fund. You might know a gentleman named Eric Sprott, a billionaire that made his fortune in mining. He will buy those shares. So these institutions, mutual funds, hedge funds, high net worth people that are experts in mining, as long as we sell them the uranium shares at about a 10 to 15% discount, they will buy all your shares 1 second later. So this is turning into a GIC experience. It's all guaranteed. You don't have to worry about what the stock does because a lot of times they fail. Yes, the ones that do well do exceptionally well, but it does have an incredibly high failure rate. And all I've done is then you can sell it to the liquidity provider, get the cash, donate the cash, and get a second receipt. That's why these numbers are so good. You're going to get two tax deductions, and you're allowed to because you're helping them on two policies, the job exploration and the charity. Next slide, please. Again, not a loophole. Reader added the 20% credit from the Sask party. My apologies, the 30% tax credit. Saskatchewan and Manitoba now are the two leaders in all of Canada. Plus, you get a 15% credit if you're looking for gold federally, and a 30% credit if we're looking for uranium and all those 17 critical minerals. That's lithium, cobalt, copper, and that's all to help with the energy transition. We still have another 30 or 40 years of oil and gas to use for the world, and Canada will do well on that. We can't flip the switch automatically to electrification, but that's the next future of the country, and especially for the province. So I just want to drill that in that, yes, this is something that the government wants more of. They've added more credits just recently, federally and now provincially in Saskatchewan. You've seen the picture. These are remote areas of where the minerals are found, and the government wants us to find more of them, and we're just getting going. Next slide. Some energy, you might recognize some of these. The big two that jump out is actually, for me, Denison. In 2015 and 2017, we raised flow-through shares. They were a penny stock then, and I'm also proud to say that NextGen in 2014, we were raising money for them when they were worth literally just millions. NextGen is now worth $4.8 billion. And Denison's worth $2 billion. So those are some of the success stories. And of course, all those other companies, they needed to drill. The jobs are there. Any of the business owners, we know how important, the natural resources are in Saskatchewan, whether it's agriculture or whether it's mining and oil and gas. Next slide. So there's three ways to donate. Too many people, 80% of all major donations are write a check. And I like people on this line and on this video to stop thinking, if you're going to give more than $5,000 a year to charity, you should absolutely consider the next two. Public stock, I'm a big believer. If you donate public stock, you don't have to pay the capital gain. So look for stock that's gone up a lot in value, and then you can donate that, and that can be your donation. Now, if you have a 10-bagger, I've done the math here, that's 10 times the growth. Most of our clients are looking at a double. Very few of them have a 10-bagger. A double is 38-cent cost, so it doesn't cost you the 50 cents. We're getting the 12-cent savings. 27 is the 10-bagger. And if you started a public company, the cheapest it will be is 25 cents. Now, donate those public stock, and then we can do flow-through shares. The flow-through shares sell to the liquidity provider. So again, I'm going to stress no stock market risk. This is a GIC experience, a guaranteed investment certificate equivalent. We draw up, our costs are usually between 23 cents on the high level to 1 penny, which is one of our most favorite options for our clients. So no more donation cash, please, at least for the large donations. Let's look at public stock. And if you don't have any public stock, we have flow-through shares. And if you have public stock, we can still do flow-through shares to bring your costs down to the public. Again, I want you, we're not going to have a test at the end of this. Really, what I want you to grasp is that this is true, and we should be connecting with your accountant. The sooner we do that, the better for everyone. Next slide. Okay, we're going to kind of dumb it down. I'm going to show you a real life example at the end in about 8 minutes, but let's just quickly touch on the coins presentation. Here is at the closing table, I have 3 people that I need to agree with. These take a month to 2 months to put together. So I need to find a Saskatchewan company probably in the Athabasca that wants to drill. And they tell us how much their drill program can be. 30 million, 5 million, we'll do 1 million, whatever they like to do. We're quite comfortable working at any number. I'm wearing this 100 actually. Cindy was very kind to give me a shirt because our firm has the record. Last year during the Saskatchewan Roughrider game, I was on the phone for most of it because I was sealing up $100 million, the biggest structured flow through in Canadian history. The other advantage we have is we've also done more transactions than anywhere else in Canada, 725 of them, and we did the first back at literally days after Stephen Harper changed the laws that opened this opportunity. There are 3 other companies in Canada, all based in Toronto, that do this work as well. So we're just niches of niches. So 4 companies all in Canada. And I have to like to say that we have made the extra effort. If I'm not there in Saskatchewan, we do have Alex, one of our employees there, as well as Paulo, my vice president, is there frequently as well, because we want to grow the Saskatchewan market. So we have the mining companies, the investor donors. That's where we want to get our Saskatchewan people. That's where we want to grow this. And the liquidity providers. That is usually my bottleneck. If a good year for us is 250 to 300 million of this product, and hopefully we're going to get up to $100 million in Saskatchewan in the coming year or two. But I need to find the person that's going to de-risk it. That's the hardest part for me these days. The mining business hasn't been a great investment since 2011, when India and China stopped growing at 10%. So here we go. $1.50 is the mining company shares. They'll come to the closing table. Maybe the shares are trading at $1.25 on the stock market. They get a bit of a premium on a flow-through share. The investor donor, that's our group of people, would have been Brent and Dave plus a handful more. They would come in and put up $1. They will, sorry, $1.50 of cash. So the $1.50 of cash in the real world, that would be $15 million as the group. That would go to Atha Energy, and Atha Energy would then go up north to drill and create the jobs and hopefully find something exciting. And that would also pay more taxes back to the government. But really, the government has a no-lose situation here because they get the jobs and the $1.50 of stocks that the investor has, we immediately send that down. So you sign a subscription agreement to buy the flows, and you sign another agreement to sell them to the Royal Bank Resource Fund, who would then send you up $1. That's that discount I told you about. So that's their advantage. The resource fund hopes that that stock won't drop in the 4 months they can't sell it from $1.25 when it's trading on the market. The $1.50 is that bit of a flow-through premium, and they're hoping that that won't happen to them. Now you have $1 of cash in your hand, and you could keep that, or what we'd like to do for you to consider is also give that to charities, and you would get another tax deduction. Okay, so we're going to go through the math now. It all happens one minute in time. Your money's never at risk. With your the total group of 15 million, we don't release the money from escrow from Faskins until we see the $15 million of stock and we see the $10 million or the dollar for the liquidity provider. So here's the easy math. We're just going to make 50%. There's also tax credits. They're going to get rid of the capital gain that are attached to flow-through shares since 2011. But for easy conceptualization, you're going to write a check for $1.50, and that's going to save you 75 cents on your tax return. That $1.50 goes up north to drill. Then you're going to sell it. You're going to sell it to the liquidity provider for $1 of cash. So the stock, that makes no difference to you anymore, and you immediately get $1 cash back. Next slide. And you're going to donate that to your donor advised fund. If you have a private foundation, you can have that at the closing table, or you can use our donor advised public company foundation, and we send it to you. You're going to save 50 cents on that dollar donation, right? Everyone knows that 50% tax brackets, there's no valuation issue. You got $1 of cash. So now we're done. $1.50 is what you wrote the check for. The first policy is the 75 cents. That creates the jobs for the drilling. 50 cents, that came from the dollar donation. So you add those two together, the 75 plus the 50 cents, that equals $1.25 in tax savings. Subtract that from your $1.50, it costs you only 25 cents to give a dollar. And we all know it costs you usually 50 cents. So just there, I can double up your charitable contributions with no additional cost. And that also includes our fees that we charge. Option 2, you don't have to give it to charity. Of course, we like all our clients to do, and probably closer to 95% do give some. And of course, the Saputos and some of the bigger donors that we have in Saskatchewan are giving it all to charity because that's really the driver for them. That's what gets them excited about helping philanthropy. Me saving $1 million of tax from a very wealthy person doesn't get them as excited as them getting $2 million into their foundation. So option 2, you don't have to give it to charity. You could keep the dollar back for yourself from the liquidity provider. You get 75 cents of tax savings from that one policy. You're not doing the donation policy here on option 2. And wow, you walk away with a 25-cent profit from the $1.50 that you put up. And that's not unusual. 25% rates of return guaranteed via tax savings. Now, option 3, that's our most popular. You would write a $3 check, $1.50 for charity. Remember how that costs you 25 cents? The dollar goes to charities of your choice. The next one, you write another $1.50 check. That's for you to make a profit of 25 cents. When you match the 25-cent profit with the 25-cent cost, it only costs you a penny. And when Dave says you might have some cash flow issues, think in the big world, we're just talking here dollars, but that could be $300,000 of cash, correct? So $150,000 for the donation. We'll make this any level you wish. You might be asking, well, how low will you go, Peter? If you want to do a $5,000 or $10,000 flow through check to start off and see how it works, we're happy to do that extra paperwork. They have alternate minimum levels of what Revenue Canada will allow you to maximize on. It's about 20 to 30% of your salary dollars, okay, depending on how much and your dividends. So if you made $300,000 of income, you could buy $90,000. What also really helps if you're selling a building or selling a business, anytime you have a big tax bill, we should definitely talk to your accountant. Okay, so that's the famous penny deal. Again, all I want to do is get to your accountant, and this is, we took the penny deal, which is, and we'll show you numbers next, but this is the visualization. Here's someone makes $300,000 a year personal income. Your accountant, she's done everything she can. She's got you incorporated. You maybe have a family trust. You've done RSPs. You've done TFSAs, and you're still at $300,000 after all those deductions. You're going to pay $110,000, and we had kept it red for the Liberals. You don't want to give the $110,000 to Ottawa. That's all red. You can file the philanthropic job creation tax return. That's what we want you to file on the right, and we've made it beneficial for you. Up to alternate minimum tax levels, CRA still gets the $60,000. That's the best we can do for you. But $25,000 goes to, that's what you bought the flows high, sold them low, so that's your cost. But that money actually went to jobs. It went directly to the economy of Saskatchewan. And $25,000, that will go to charities. Now, it could be any of the 92,000 charities. But what was happening in the past when we didn't have this extra tax credit, the 30% provincial credit, unfortunately, the 25,000 would go to Ontario charities. That's where, because that's where those donors, investors are coming from. Now I want to put all my Saskatchewan drilling with Saskatchewan taxpayers, and therefore chances are that'll go to the hospitals, the universities, the food banks, the South Saskatchewan Community Foundation, you name it. That's where we want it to go. And please, no more of the red. And this is just the old-fashioned way. Remember how I said, so many donations, 80% are just write the check. Write the check saves you $12,500 on the 25. Your total cost is $123, but I can save you about $13,000, about basically of that 25 grand by doing it our way. Okay, so you definitely on the first slide don't want to pay more Rev Can. And then in this slide, it shows how superior we are to be able to save you, $12,500 to $13,000. Okay. Usually, if I only had 5 minutes, Cindy, that's what I show someone. Just those two slides, and I say, now could I go talk to, Regan Exner? Can I go talk to Wayne Poprosky at MNP? Here's a real life deal. We've got we should have, and also Dave mentioned, we'll have about 3 to 4 Saskatchewan deals every year. We've already had one this year. We'll have one coming up hopefully in June, July. We'll hopefully have another one in the fall. Don't wait too late, though. Sometimes we have deals in November, December. Sometimes we don't. So absolutely, let's get you, we'll talk to your accountant. We find out what the right amount is, alternate minimum tax, get you comfortable and your accountant comfortable, and then you sit on the reserve list, the waiting list, until we have a deal, and then you have first right of refusal. So this is an example of a $100,000 net donation. If you wanted to do $10,000, you just cut these numbers into 1/10. So this one would be a $195,000 check. A $10,000 net donation would only be $19,000 check. We're going to sell that to the liquidity provider for the $118,000. So that's that discount. We're going to collect the fees. The fees pay not just our firm, the investment bankers that find the mining company, find the liquidity provider. Our job is to find the donor investor. It covers the accounting and the lawyer fees. And also, I know there's a couple of financial advisors on this call. There's an additional 3% there as well for the financial advisors that we work with. Okay, so that's how it works. The investment bankers usually like to get 3. The financial advisor, the sales agent likes to get 3. The lawyers, accountants like to get at least 1 or 2, and then the remainder hopefully will be for our firm to help us pay our 22 employees. So it's all in the open, completely transparent. You know where the fees are, they're tax deductible, and we'll also tell you who the company is, and we'll also let you know who the liquidity provider is. Next slide. So here it is. The end 192,000 was the first check you wrote. 19,000 covers the fees. It saves you $173,000 of net tax savings, and your charity gets $100,000. Okay, so 195 was your check. 173,000 of tax savings. That's because you're getting 2 tax savings on your check, the 195 and your donation of 100,000 plus the fees are all deductible. It only costs you 22,000 or 22 cents to give $1. Remember that first option where it was 25 cents? There's that example. We can also bring that cost of $22,000 or 22 cents down to a penny by increasing that check amount. Okay, again, I don't want to go into a lot of details here on the video, but happy to go talk on an individual basis when I'm in Saskatchewan again, Regina on the 15th and 16th, and I might be in Saskatoon that following Wednesday. And of course, we can talk video with you and your accountant. And that is it in a nutshell. All I expect you to really remember that is you can now pay 20% of your tax bill to charities of your choice. You can support your economy, your jobs in Saskatchewan and your charities, and do less support of CRA and of the government, the federal government. Yeah. Any questions that we might have? Cindy, did I hit all the points? Did I miss anything that I should go back to? Or Dave, Brent, you've gone through this. And I think we had 1 hour, so we're at 6 minutes, right on time. If there are some questions, will they show up, Kurt, on the, will people write them, or you tell me? Go ahead, Dave. Yeah. Okay.
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Okay. And like you said, the transaction happens one day in time. The money is put back into your foundation account. If you have a pure investment, we send back that money about 3 days later. There is no stock market risk. That is 99% of the risk in these deals. There is one other tiny risk that has only happened 17 times in my 36 careers. I've done 725 of these structured flows. I've done over 500 risk flows where you don't sell it to the liquidity provider. So we're well over, about 1,200 of them. 17 times CRA came back and looked at them, and they don't audit many of them, but they do audit. They said mining company ABC didn't spend it all on drilling. They spent they get accused of spending some on non-flow through share eligible. It almost never happens. The good news for us is there's always an indemnification. So when you sign the subscription agreement to buy these shares, you also see that the mining company promises to spend it drilling, CRA eligible. And if they don't, if there is any reassessment, they have to make our clients whole in 20 days. And that's what's happened only 17 times. And that's our job. Our company looks after that. We're not your accountant. We can get that wrapped up in 20 business days. And I'm also proud to say of all the years I've been selling in Saskatchewan, not one Saskatchewan company has failed to spend it right, and CRA has they have audited a few of them, and they've all came clean. So the Saskatchewan people are doing it right. We've had a couple of glitch issues in Quebec, and they all say the same thing. All 17 said, Peter, we did it right. We've got a bad auditor, and we all know that. We've all had experienced some mishaps with the federal government and bureaucracy, but they get to fight CRA over the next 2 years and decide on that. And sometimes it's just a reassessment of 5%. We've never had a complete reassessment. But anyways, I want to talk about that, stress that is the only risk, but we've got it covered with an indemnification. So it really is the GIC type of experience.
I think what we'll do is we'll wrap up. So thank you so much. I love giving people back 3 minutes in their day, especially on a Friday morning.
Well,
exactly. If there is any questions, we will be connecting with everybody on the call with the the PowerPoint and just a thank you if we've got your email, which I think we do. But again, if you want to connect with Peter, you can reach out to me, Dave, or Brent, or directly to Peter. We would be happy to facilitate that. But thank you, Peter, for your support,
Yes,
which is
my
from day
pleasure.
one. And
Yeah.
also thank you for caring about Saskatchewan as well. So we're thrilled to have that. So thanks, Dave, Brent, and have yourself a great day, and go Riders.
Yeah,
And
go
Oilers.
Oilers too, right?
Oh, of course, and Oilers.
That's for
yes,
tonight.
of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
Yes.
All
See you
right,
guys.
everybody. Thank you for your time. Look forward to working together. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.